journey. Welcome to the next stop on your journey from paycheck to pension. If you're ready to take your finances to the next level, you're in the right place. It's time to take control of your future, starting now, and we're doing it live. Hi, we're the Stidhams, and our goal is to help you get self-directed. It's the tax-free income that will shape your legacy. It's wealth, time, and the freedom you deserve. What you're about to learn will enable you to make confident and strategic moves. It means gaining complete control to invest in what you want when you want. We've helped thousands of people just like you. And if they can do it, you can too. So we hope you're ready, because it's about time that your money started working for you. And we're so excited that you chose us to show you how.
Starting right now.
Good evening. Get in here. Tonight we're going to talk about something that is a little bit controversial for us because we normally talk against it. Tonight we're going to educate towards it, and there's a reason why we're doing this. Of course, as we always say, nothing is one size fits all, and there are opportunities for different people. And so depending on what your situation looks like, depending on what your profile looks like, this may be just for you. Really, honestly, for anybody who's trying to increase their leverage and reduce their taxable income, though, you should stick around. All right, Donnell.
So, you're right. We do beat up on traditional retirement accounts a lot. And it's not that I am beating up on an IRA or beating up on a 401k or 403b. That is not it at all. Because I create them. I literally create IRAs and 401ks. I create them such that you can invest in what you want, when you want, with whomever you would like. And my issue is not the vehicle. My issue is who the vehicle is with, or with whom the vehicle is with.
Right.
Meaning, it's the company that you work for, or it's the custodian that holds your dollars. It's the fact that these vehicles are actually some pretty powerful vehicles. The issue is the restrictions that your custodian or that your employer place upon you, and don't necessarily allow you to be able to access the funds the way you would like to, or access the vehicles the way you would like to invest in whatever you would like. And so what we wanted to do, with this being the closeout of where we're closing out the year, and we are actually headed to one of our events, and I'm sure she'll bring this up later. What we wanted to do was just kind of highlight some of the, I'll call it, the reasons why a self-directed IRA or self-directed 401k might be effective for you, and specifically a self-directed 401k, and some of the power associated with, especially as it relates to reducing your taxable income, or sheltering tax dollars, or being able to just access more funds, or having more funds available to you. So this is a small snippet of what we're going to actually kind of talk through during an event on Wednesday. But I just wanted to kind of highlight some of these opportunities. And let me also say this. I know there's probably a lot of cash value, life insurance related topics that we would like, or you would like for us to discuss today. We can still do that. But we just wanted to kind of highlight this opportunity with the 401k first. So.
Well, I think, first of all, welcome everyone who's joining us, especially our folks in the chat. We love to see who's watching, and we love to see you in the chat. This is where we're building a family. We're building a community. So get in here. If you're feeling like, you know what, I'm trying to make sense of all of this and I'm the only one. Well, you're not anymore. Jump in the chat. So we would love to see you there. Glad to hear that you guys are getting your votes, because we had a new way of sending them. So that seems like it's faster this way. So that's great. The other thing about this is, Donnell, there's like 90% of the people that you serve have been real estate investors for well over a decade. This has been your world. This is these are the conversations, the events that you're going and presenting at, and who you've been educating for well over a decade. I think what's interesting right now is that there are a lot of people who are interested in jumping into real estate investing, whether if it's an Airbnb type of situation, or if it's short-term, long-term rental, it doesn't matter. I think a lot of people are also looking at what the market is doing, and they're trying to prepare themselves, thinking like, maybe this is my chance to jump in. Maybe this is my chance to like get in the game, right?
Mhm.
So I think it's interesting to learn how these people are playing the game, because they're playing at an unfair advantage if you don't know these rules, for one, right? If you don't know how to get properly structured, you can wind up in a very dangerous place with a lot of penalties, and the math doesn't math if you're not properly structured. And so there's a lot of people who say, "Gosh, I would love to buy an investment property." We hear this all the time, like as a way of generating retirement income. That part of what's on that schedule is some sort of rental property. It could be the home that they're currently living in, and they're thinking to themselves, like, later on, I'll downsize, but I'll keep this house so that it'll become rental income. If you're not properly structured, though, you could wind up in a very dangerous situation later on down the road. And so you might want to pay attention if that is on your horizon for your ultimate plan to produce retirement income. So that being said, we're going to we're just going to lay out the IRS guidelines so that you understand what it is. We're not making this up. This isn't us. We don't have to make it up, right? Now, how you use these guidelines, how you apply them in your situation, depending on what your situation is, that's the part that you'll need to pay attention to so that you can understand how to apply it. Or easy enough, if you feel any of this applies to you, or you want this to apply to you, you can simply just go here. There's about 21, 22 years of information in the FAQ, in the blogs. There is a vault of information here on our website, and you can go here to look up more of that information, or jump on Donnell's calendar. So that's an easy fix. So now that we got that out of the way, are you ready to dive in?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. All right. I had to make
And
sure.
I see this topic is also going pretty quick. Because I think what I want to do is just highlight one piece of the, I'll call it 90 minutes of information I traditionally cover around this topic. It's just a small piece, and we're going to talk about contribution limits. What you're able to contribute inside of a 401k, and we're going to focus specifically on 401ks, not necessarily dig into the details of an IRA, mainly because I'm telling you, although a lot of your custodians, a lot of your banks, a lot of your financial institutions live in this self-directed IRA space where they want you to get an IRA to be able to invest in what you want, it's really limiting. And so I want to just focus on 401k and just kind of highlight some of those areas. So yeah, we can jump in when you're ready. And I think
Okay.
the full size vibe board I think is fine as well.
Oh, okay. That's good feedback, because I was not going there. I just want to. I did turn up, so I got the feedback in the chat that I'm a little low. So I did turn up. So that's good. Thank you for that. The other thing is,
Turn up for what?
right. Well, on that note, though, we are this next year will be heavy in traveling and doing events. The information that you're about to get, that snack size portion of the actual presentation and class that you teach, you're flown out all over this year. I get to go with you since we don't have kids in school anymore, and I'm super excited about that. And so essentially what it will be is like I'm labeling it the Financial Freedom Tour, and that we're about to embark on this year. And I'm super excited. So we did a poll inside of our Facebook group to see like where people are, and if we have people inside of our community that are going to be in any of these cities. There's like, I don't know, 12, 13 cities that we have on our list so far. And just to see, will you be in this area? Some of these events are private, right? We don't get
Yeah.
to control who is invited to these events. However, we can have a meetup if you are in any of these cities. So jump into our Facebook group so that you can be a part of that conversation, because we would love to do that. So far, it's feeling like a vibe. So I feel like we're about to go on tour. That's why I call it the Financial Freedom Tour. And I'm super excited about this. I always love to know that when we meet new people and we walk into groups like this, that you are leaving them far more educated than they came, and they are leaving with leverage. And that to me feels good. I know it feels good for them. And this has been life-changing for a lot of people. And you're about to learn just the snack size portion of why. So let's jump into it.
Let's do it.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
All right.
So So this first slide that I just want to pull up is just some of the, and a little bit out of order, but about the bottom line is, I talk heavily about non-traditional retirement accounts and the impact on your ability to be able to do what it is you want, all while I create self-directed IRAs and 401ks. And again, I go back to, it is not the vehicle, it's the people who have the vehicle. It is not the IRA or the 401k or the 403b or the TSP that's the problem. It's the fact that you are limited to what it is you can do with these vehicles based off the restrictions placed upon you by the custodian that you have them with or the employer that you work for. So, but there are some distinct differences between an IRA or 401k. I would say majority of the calls I receive are around, hey, I would like a self-directed IRA so that I can invest in this non-traditional investment like gold or silver or land, or do subject twos or whatever the case may be. But in with a small amount of dialogue, with a few amount of questions, we end up transitioning from an IRA to a 401k simply because of the differences between the two vehicles. And these are just, I'm just highlighting some of those differences. IRA versus a 401k. IRA, individual retirement account. It requires one per person. But if you're a couple and you guys both have previous employers' plans from jobs that you've had previously, well, a 401k, you can actually commingle funds, meaning you can have one 401k for both individuals, and you can commingle funds within them. An IRA is really just a glorified savings account. It's really not that special. But an IRA, in order for you to be able to self-direct it, in order for you to be able to have control over those dollars, self-direct just simply means control. In order for you to have control over your retirement dollars, it requires some additional structure. And one of those things that it requires is your IRA itself has to purchase an LLC. Well, there's already fees associated with an IRA. Now you introduce an LLC. Now you're introducing LLC fees. And so you're paying fees as associated with having an IRA, custodial fees, but then you're also having custodial fees associated with having an LLC as well. So you're doubling the fees compared to a 401k. A 401k is a pension plan. A 401k has its own EIN number. A 401k is not required to have some of this additional structure in order for you to be able to have control over those dollars. And so I think the only other item I wanted to kind of highlight there was the custodial piece, and that is, oh, I'm sorry, not the custodial piece. One requires a custodian, one does not. But obviously, if you have a 401k, you would want your dollars sitting with that custodian. Well, that just means that we that allows us to be able to negotiate those fees away from your 401k, so it reduces the impact on that. But the biggest piece is the contribution limits. The contribution limits inside of an IRA are, what is it, 6,500 and 7,500 per year, depending on your age. Well, in 2024, that dollar amount did at least increase, but I think it increased by what, $500. So the contribution limits for an IRA started at $1,500 a year. They are currently sitting at $6,500 if you're under the age of 50. That's an increase of $5,000 since what, 1974? Compared to a 401k where the contribution limits this year are, I believe it's 22.5 if you're under under 50 years of age, and what is it, closer to $30,000 if you're over the age of 50. So the contribution limits are significantly higher, which means it allows you to get more money into them. So kind of on that note, what I wanted to kind of talk through a little bit is who actually needs or requires a self-directed 401k and why. So, like, if you're in the market for a self-directed retirement account, why, what requirements are necessary for you to require a 401k compared to an IRA? And really, it's more of a choice, because a self-directed 401k, in order to have one, you do have to have a business. Think about any 401k, any SEP IRA, any 403b, any TSP you've ever had was sponsored by some employer. So in order to have a 401k, you do have to have some type of income, some type of 1099 income, some LLC, some S corp, some C corp, all having the ability of producing income. Even if it's not producing income today, it has to have some ability to be able to produce that income. So if you have a business, what better way to reduce your taxable income than by having a retirement account tied to it? And this retirement account that you would tie to your business is one that will allow you to now filter income through that business, reducing your taxable income and putting you in a position to where you can invest in what you want whenever you want with that second vehicle. So what happens is you're wearing two hats. You're the manager of your business, your LLC, your S corp, your C corp, or maybe you are a rideshare driver, Uber driver, or something like that. Bottom line is you are the manager of some business, owner of some business. Well, if you have a 401k tied to that business, you are now the trustee of that 401k. You are now the trustee of that retirement account that allows you to now make decisions. It's no different than a trust. It allows you to make decisions on how that money is now being used. And so the relationship between that business and that 401k is now you're able to transfer funds from the income generated by your business into the 401k, and you can do that in a tax deferred process, meaning you don't have to pay taxes on that dollar amount today as you send that income into your 401k, which allows you to reduce your taxable income. Now, I'm a big fan of Roth dollars, so I'm not suggesting you would want to do that, but it does give you the ability to be able to reduce your tax burden. And then this is one where when I talk to people who have 401ks or 403bs or TSPs and I ask them what are they currently contributing to them, most of them say somewhere around 19,500 if they're maxing it out, or something less than that. And I ask if there's a match. Yes, there's a match. So ultimately, the total dollar amount might be somewhere between 15 and let's call it $25,000 a year. It's what's being contributed into a 401k. Again, 15 to somewhere around 25,000. Most people don't realize that there's a much larger amounts that you're able to contribute into your 401k. And that's your company's 401k. Part of the reason why you're not able to contribute that extended dollar amount that we're going to dig into your company's 401k is because 9 times out of 10, they restrict you from doing so. But if you have a company's 401k or a company 403b or a TSP, and you're wanting to create a self-directed retirement account, can you contribute to both? And the answer is yes. Can you contribute the maximum to both? And that's kind of what we want to highlight today, is kind of dig into what those maximums look like. And so we're going to spend some time today. I've got an example that I'm going to walk through at the end of this related to Joe and Greg. Joe's 42, again, under the age of 50, and Greg is above the age of 50. And I know that's not supposed to be me because his beard is connected and mine does not. So I'm confident you are not referencing me in this picture. And they both have,
About that, but you're right.
I'm self-conscious.
You
I'm
don't, it
always,
doesn't connect.
I know, I see it.
Maybe Santa will bring you that for Christmas.
So they are both employed, meaning they both have W-2 jobs. And so they are contributing to the 401k in which they are employed. But in addition, one's a freelancer, one's a passive real estate investor. They both have self-directed retirement accounts. So I'm going to dig into this example early, but keep this in mind. Joe being the younger, Greg being the older, there's a difference in what each of them can contribute into their retirement accounts, whether we're talking about the one with their employer or the one that they would have created from a self-directed perspective. So keep that in mind.
And just to reiterate, this could be any type of side income, right?
Right.
This could be anything that's just not through your employer that would qualify you for to pay attention to this. Or maybe it's a business that you've been wanting to start, right?
Right.
Okay.
It's kind of weird that I'm in line with both of them. It feels like I'm a part of that group. It's kind of weird.
I,
Should my eyes be bugged?
I don't even have a sound effect for this. Oh
All
my
right.
gosh.
All right. So why structure matters. And you guys know I talk about structure a lot. Whether we're talking about a secure compound interest account or an IRA or 401k, doesn't matter. It is about structure, meaning just because you want a self-directed retirement account doesn't mean you can just walk out here to any place and get a self-directed retirement account that will allow you to achieve your goals. So structure matters. And so what specifically do I mean when I'm talking about structure as it relates to an IRA or 401k? Control. How much control do you honestly have? Can you invest in what you want when you want? Or are you waiting on someone to give you the permission for you to be able to invest in whatever that opportunity might be? Do you have full checkbook control over the dollars that are in your account? Flexibility. Flexibility is just basically saying, can you pivot when you want to pivot? If you're in mutual funds today, can you immediately move from those mutual funds today and invest in gold and silver tomorrow? Is your account flexible enough to allow you to be able to not just contribute the $22,000, 19.5, whatever that dollar amount is every year inside of your company's 401k, but is there a match that you can provide on your own? Is there a match that you can provide in your own retirement account? Can you invest in non-traditional investments? I talk about this a lot. There's the list of non-traditional investments is probably, how about this? It would take me less time to tell you what you cannot invest in versus listing out everything that you could possibly invest in using your retirement dollars. And the three things that you cannot invest in are S Corp shares, life insurance, and collectibles, not to be confused with precious metals, but collectibles like antique cars or paintings, stuff like that. But the bottom line is everything else is wide open. Partnerships are wide open. Your ability to use your money however you would like, it's wide open. And then there's this thing called non-elective contributions. Something to remember. Again, non-elective contributions. So you have your normal contributions that you would make to your retirement account. Again, IRA or 401k, these are your normal contributions that are made based off the income that you're producing with your employer, or any I'll call it taxable income that you are creating in any vehicle can be contributed into an IRA. But then in addition to that, there are these things called non-elective contributions. And again, structure matters because not all vehicles are designed so that you can make a non-elective contribution. So this is that part where structure makes a difference. All right. So if we were to just look at 401ks and talk about contributions being made inside of a 401k, you've got the amount that you're contributing in your employer's 401k. You've got the amount that you're able to contribute into your self-directed 401k. And then there's this catch-up dollar amount based off your age. So again, you've got your employer's contribution, your contribution into your own 401k, and then that catch-up contribution. And as we can see here, whether it's Greg or what's the other guy's name? I don't even remember his name. What's his name? Greg or Joe. So whether it's Greg or Joe, as it relates to contributing to the company's retirement account, meaning your W-2 job, they both can do that. And that dollar amount is right around, I can think for 2023, it's 22.5, I believe. So 22,500 is the maximum that both Joe and Greg can both contribute into their company's retirement account. Well, Greg, who happens to be above the age of 50, has the ability to also, since he's over the age of 50, the government allows you a catch-up contribution, meaning, hey, since you're closer to retirement, maybe you started late. Here's an additional dollar amount that you're able to add in addition to that 22.5 that we're contributing in here. And I'm sorry, I'm sitting here. This says 2020. What I'm showing you here is the progression of the contribution dollar amounts over the last 4 years. So actually, I should be here. So this 22.5 is related to here. And then there's a catch-up contribution of an additional 6,500 that Greg is able to make only because he's 50 years old. And,
Um,
come on.
is you think that's the reason why they're saying you could do extra contributions?
Enlighten me, dear.
Could it possibly be that it's because they went, you know what? We messed up. Y'all are out here broke, and then depending on us to make up the difference because we told you to do some stuff that doesn't work. So here's what we're going to do. Actually, check this out. You guys are going to love this. You can put 6,500 extra dollars that you can be taxed on later, but 65 extra $100 that you won't be taxed on now, right? So, woohoo, whoopee. That's what we did for you guys. Send us, go ahead, write in and thank us for doing this. If you're 50 and older, which is, by the way, a little bit too late for you to get this information that it doesn't work, but cool part is we're doing something versus nothing. Do you think that's more? That's really what I think it's giving.
So, you know, the roles we play, there's a good cop and there's a bad cop,
Yeah,
right?
go ahead.
And from my perspective, you know, well, let me answer your question. Are there smoke and mirrors here? Absolutely, there are. Is it, hey, we've taken 2/3 of your retirement account in fees, and we know you're approaching that age, you're running out of compound cycles, and you're approaching that age to where you are going to be needing this income. Here's an incentive. Here's a few breadcrumbs so that there's not some civil war created because you guys have realized that we have bastardized this retirement vehicle. So no, I think you're spot on with that. Now, does it say that when you read the literature in the 401 code? Absolutely not. But I think it absolutely warrants. There is a reason why. There's an absolute reason why, and who does it benefit? If me as a 50-year-old realized that this vehicle was not for me, was not doing what it needed to do, I'm more apt to now take that dollar amount from this vehicle and take it somewhere else and do something else with it. So the last thing they want from me is to do that, right? Greg is holding what?
Veronica says, "Why does it look like Joe is pushing Greg off the cliff?" And then Nathan said, "Greg is holding on though."
Let's see, let me look at this real quick.
You can't just stream this without the chat. I feel like
And
it's a whole experience.
and the piece that I want to highlight here is, but what's able to happen inside of their own if they each had their. Oh, let me go back to the. If they each had their own. Sorry, writing all over the board. If they each had their own self-directed retirement account, notice the difference in contribution limits, meaning 22.5 inside of your company's retirement account. And yes, Greg has a $6,500 catch up, but you know what? If they had their own self-directed retirement account, the max they would be able to contribute is actually all of it plus an additional match. This is the match, by the way. This is the additional dollar amount that your employers should be including in addition to your 22.5. But here's what most people are experiencing with their company's 401k. This 22.5 encompasses that match in most cases. But the truth is, your total contribution that you're able to contribute in is called an elective. The total amount you're able to contribute into your as an elective deferral contribution, meaning before tax, is a total of 22.5. If your company is contributing an additional 5% or something like that, 5, 10, 12%, 9 times out of 10, you are still within this range. When the truth is, it should be pushing you further into this direction. Whereas with your own retirement account, you are able to contribute the full, which is this full dollar amount is consisted of the 22.5 contribution plus an additional 43,500. I think the actual literature reads 25% of your additional income up to 43,500 is what this dollar amount equates to. And then obviously there's the catch up.
Why is there such a big difference? That's we need to talk about that another
Between
time, but why there's actually a difference. Why would it matter to the IRS if you are working for an employer or you're working for yourself? Why would it matter in regards to reducing your taxable income?
Yeah. So why wouldn't your employer allow you to put as much as you want? Right.
Yeah, sure.
That's a everything that I would say as it relates to that is speculation.
No,
Because
it's not the employer though that is preventing that. There's the IRS prevents it too. So I think it's a double-edged sword. It's that the employer, this is what you're contributing, this isn't including what the employer is contributing, right? Because we that's a variable. We don't know what that would be for each person.
right. It should. And again, if most individuals who have a retirement account with their employer are getting some match, and it should be in addition to over and above, but in most cases in most cases it is all encompassing.
Right. Because there's if you could put in $22,000 a year, then that's a those are good problems to have,
Right.
right? If you
Right.
can afford to do that. So,
Right.
okay.
And so this is just a I'll call it a different visual for the same concept and thought processes. I just wanted to show it a little bit differently. And again, focusing over here on 2023 from Joe's perspective, he's able to put in the 22.5 from his employer, and if he has his own retirement account, there's an additional 66 grand that he's able to contribute. And then as it relates to Greg, it's the same. It's the same contribution coming from his employer plus that catch up, but it's the same dollar amount that they're able to contribute. So it's the same information, just a different visual to kind of highlight it. But here's the piece that I think is important, at least to me, and that is the taxable income. Move this over. There we go. The taxable income from the employer compared to the taxable income as it relates to you having your own retirement account. Like, what would happen if you were able to create your own uh, self-directed IRA, self-directed 401k, your own tax-deferred vehicle, so that you can now reduce your taxable income within your business? And to your point, sweetheart, why isn't it the same? Why wouldn't these graphs be the same whether you are working for an employer, some W 2 job, or you have your own business? Why wouldn't you be able to reduce this taxable income? So, again, focusing on 2023, from the taxable income from an employer's 401k, you've put in your 22.5, you've got your catch up. You make $100,000 a year. This $100,000 a year that you make, your taxable income, once you end up contributing this 19.5 or 22.5 in traditional contribution, everything outside of that is what's now taxable. All of this is what you're getting hit with now. If you're 50 years of age, yeah, there's an additional 6,500 that you're able to contribute as well, but you're going to be taxed on everything outside of that 22.5, which is what, a total of 70, what is it, 73.5, I guess. No, I'm sorry, 72.5. 72.5 is the additional amount that you would end up being taxed on, versus if you had a self-directed retirement account, a self-directed 401k specifically. Again, looking at 2023, that dollar amount that you're able to contribute into your 401k, the amount that you're able to, I'll call it tax defer, if tax deferring things is what you're into, is a total of $66,000 if you're under the age of 50. Now, this is saying the maximum. I'm going to walk you through an example of how we would get to this number, because this isn't 100% accurate, meaning how you are able to contribute this dollar amount. There's some criteria that has to be met. So I'll walk through what that criteria is. But the moral of the story is the amount that you're able to contribute, or the amount that you're able to defer taxes on as it relates to having a self-directed retirement account, is significant. It's roughly 2/3 is what you're able to put away, if you're structured properly. And again, it goes back to the type of self-direct. Not all self-directed 401ks have the provisions that allow you to maximize this contribution as well. So this goes back to structure matters. So what I wanted to do was just kind of walk through uh, a really quick example between Greg and Joe. And the objective is to answer the question, how much can they contribute? So if you've got Joe's 42, Greg is 50, and again, I kind of started started the formula already, meaning the maximum contributions for each of them is 22.5, based off the fact that they make $100,000 a year. Yeah, I do have that in there. They're making, so this is their personal business, not with their employer. I'm talking about with their business, whether it's Uber, an MLM, rideshare, they're real estate investors. Regardless of what the business is, they each make $100,000. And I get it. We don't all make $100,000 in our vehicles. I used 100,000 just for round number sake. So if you want to make it 50, cut all of this in half. But the bottom line is, if they're each making $100,000 in their side hustle, in their business, um, how much can they honestly contribute? Because based off that visual before, it seems like they can contribute up to about $66,000. And the truth is, that's not 100% true. And I want to just explain why. So I guess I'll go back here. So, from a personal perspective, again, there are buckets that you have to be conscious of. the personal bucket. This is the personal elective contribution bucket. There's the catch up contribution. There's the PSP. This PSP bucket stands for profit sharing. So it's the profit sharing plan or profit sharing bucket, or you can call it match contribution. It has many different terms, but there's three buckets you have to be. Well, there's actually four buckets, but I'm going to highlight three of them for now. So there's the initial elective contribution bucket, the catch up contribution, and then the PSP. And the key piece about this PSP, meaning this match, is the true match inside of a 401k is for 25% of your income up to 43,500. Very few people even know what this number is. And so again, what that means is if you have a 401k with your current employer and they're giving you a 5% match, the question that you want to ask yourself is, why is it only 5% if I'm capable of having 25%? And again, it's by choice. This is the carrot that they're dangling in front of you as though it's supposed to mean something. But the truth is, your 401k, your 403b, your TSP has the provision, has the ability for that contribution amount to be 25% of your income up to 43.5 as a match. So in this case, if they both are making $100,000 a year, 25% of $100,000 is 25K. So the max on the maximum amount of, I'll call it match, or the maximum amount of profit sharing for each of them would be an additional 25K. And so if that's the case, get some room here. There we go. So if that's the case, so 22.5 plus 25,000 is a total of 47.5. So that's the total amount of hold on, what did I do wrong? Oh no, yeah, I'm right. So that's the total amount that they would end up being able to contribute. So 22.5 plus an additional 25 for Joe, and for Greg, it's about 54K. So those are the total amounts that they would be able to contribute into their self-directed 401k. But how much is actually taxable? So for that amount, we have to subtract this number from the amount that they actually make in income, which is 100K. So if I subtract these numbers from 100K, so what's taxable is 52.5 is taxable for Joe, and a total of 46K is taxable for Greg. And so we reduced their taxable dollar amounts, but it is not the same as what you saw in those visuals, because there's a maximum. If they made more than $100,000 a year, then they could get closer to that 43.5. But because they only make $100,000 in their business, the max that they're able to defer, the max they're able to take as a profit sharing or as a match would be 25% of their income, which is an additional 25. But now, that doesn't mean that there isn't still room for them to contribute more. And for that, I have to highlight the bucket of non-elective contributions. Non-elective contributions are after-tax contributions. So again, if they've contributed 25,000 in profit sharing plus the 22.5 in elective contributions, there's a non-elective contributions of the difference between this dollar amount and this dollar amount. Meaning if I was able to contribute only 25,000 because I made 100,000, there's a difference between these $2 amounts. That is what I'm able to contribute after tax. And I'll make that a different color. And that dollar amount is 18.5. And it actually ends up being 18.5 for both of them. So they still end up contributing the full 66. But the difference is, well, 66 for Joe and 66 plus another 7,500 or 6,500 for Greg. So because of the catch-up contribution. But the bottom line is they're still able to contribute the max. But a portion of that amount that's being contributed to the max is an after-tax portion. And this is the part that very few people understand. And so I share all this to share all this to say, hold on, let me make it a little bit smaller. I share all this to say the amount that they're able to contribute is really dependent upon how much they actually make. And how much they actually make determines whether or not this non-elective contribution, the amount that you're able to contribute. And just so we're clear, this non-elective contribution can come from anywhere. Any income that this business has, whether it's sitting in savings, it can come from anywhere. And because you're putting it in as an after-tax dollar amount, what that means is you're actually making a Roth contribution into your 401k. So not only are you able to maximize or put in the total dollar amount, you're also able to do it from a Roth perspective, meaning an after-tax dollar perspective. So to kind of summarize all of this, and again, because I told you this would go pretty quick, I'm sharing this with you for a reason, and the reason is actually here. We are in the last month of 2023. In 2024, the contribution limits are actually increasing, meaning currently, as I mentioned, that deferral amount is 22.5. The amount of match or the amount of profit sharing that that your business is able to contribute on your behalf is 43.5. And then the catch up contribution being 6,500. So the total, if you're over the age of 50, I think this is the over the age of $50 amount. If you're over the age of 50, the total that you're able to contribute into your retirement is 72.5. But in 2024, this thing increases. It jumps up to 2,300 versus 22.5, an additional 500. It jumps up to 46,000. So it's still 25%, but it goes from 25% up to 43.5 to 25% up to 46,000. And then there's a contribution, a catch-up contribution of 65, which gives you 69 grand that you're able to contribute into your 401k max if you are under the age of 50, and 75.5 if you're over the age of 50. This is significant. And the piece I want to connect you to is because we're in the last month of the year, you have limited amount of time to be able to create or start your self-directed retirement account, whether that's an IRA or 401k. But I wanted to highlight some I guess timing that you should be aware of, and that is the deadlines to be able to create a self-directed 401k. Most people think it's at the end of the year, and in this case, it does have to be created by. Wait a minute, created. Yeah, it does have to be created by the end of the year. Oh, sorry. But you can, once it's created, you have the until the tax year. So I think it's 3 of 2024. You have until the just before the start of just before just before April 15th, you have the ability to contribute your 2023 dollar amount into your 2023 401k, meaning it does have to be created by the end of the year, but you have till March of 2024 to continue to make your 2023 contributions. Why is that important? Well, if you have a small business and you're trying to reduce your taxable income within that business, and you have not created your self-directed retirement account as of yet, you have the ability to get that done now, and you would still have the next 3 months, 3.5 months or so to be able to contribute into that 401k to be able to reduce your 2023 taxable dollar amount. So it's pretty important that if this is a move that you're thinking about making, that you make it pretty quick because you are running out of time. I think, make sure I didn't miss anything. Nope, I didn't. All right. That was all I wanted to highlight there, sweetheart. I don't know if you're talking, but I cannot hear you. Nope, still can't hear you. I don't know if they can hear you though. So you may want to ask them. Maybe it's just me.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. There we go.
Oh, that's interesting. That's not good. Okay. Well, anywho, was there anything that you wanted to cover from the IRA side of things? That's what I was asking.
Well, and other than the contribution limits for the IRA are also going up this year, they're going up an additional $500. So instead of the 6,500 that you're traditionally are able to contribute as an individual under the age of 50, or 7,500 over 50, they've increased to, I think, 7,000 if you're under 50 and 8,000 if you're over the age of 50 for 2024. So that's a good thing. But still, I go back to the original contribution amount in 1974 was $1,500. So that's a total of, geez, $6,000 that it's increased over the last 30 plus years. 40, no, I'm sorry, I'm 50. Over the last 50 years. Like, that's ridiculous. Like, why is that even a thing? Why are we even in support of that? So, not saying that some of us have to have an IRA, by the way. Some of us are not allowed to have a 401k if we don't have a business. So if you don't have a business, then you have to be structured with a self-directed IRA. That's not a bad thing. Meaning, it's not a bad thing from the perspective of you can still invest with you can still invest in what you want. You still can use the self-directed IRA the same way you can use the self-directed 401k. There's just limitations, and it kind of goes back to the first slide that I had shared. Income limitations, your ability to commingle funds, UBIT, unrelated business income tax. Like, there's some specific criteria that makes this different. But if you're looking for control, it's still a way to be able to have control over your retirement dollars.
Man, I'm gonna tell y'all right now, if you don't have a business and you're thinking, well, then I'll just go the IRA route. Start a business. Just
That's
start
it.
a business.
Start a business.
It's not even worth it. There's nothing that I don't call anything hot trash. It's not that. This was created for a reason and it still exists, right? You're still able to get one today for a reason. And for some people, maybe this is a good fit. Again, because nothing is one size fits all
Right.
necessarily, 100%. But I'm going to tell you right now, don't count yourself out. Just go start a business. Start selling something on eBay, flip a furniture on Facebook Marketplace, or whatever it is, qualifies as income. There's your side hustle. Boom. You're
And
in the
who's not
money.
in an MLM? So an MLM can also qualify as self-employed income as well.
Yeah, just get the Melaleuca Tupperware, whatever you're going to do. And
World
just,
Ventures.
yeah, right. Just get in there so that you can, even if you're only ordering your own stuff. Um, okay, we don't advocate for MLMs, by the way. That's
I
not
do
what we
not.
do.
I'm
Yeah,
not a fan. I've
we
got a lot of
definitely
clients
don't.
who do rideshare on the weekends and stuff like that, and most people don't realize that the minute you do rideshare, that is self-employed employment income. That is enough for you to own your own business. Because
Any
notice,
1099 income.
that's it. Any
Yeah,
1099, and notice, you don't hear me talk about how much income you have to make.
right.
I have clients. I have a client. This is years ago, but I have a client who taught kids how to box on the weekends, and he didn't want to charge the parents a whole lot. He just needed enough to cover the rent of the gym on the weekends, and he may make $50 a month. But that $50 a month was sufficient enough for him to create his own self-directed 401k, transfer his, I think it was AT&T, oh no, his Target 401k from his previous employer into his self-directed retirement account, and put him in a position to where he could open his own gym. It's pretty powerful.
That's dope. And but this is like the nuggets that when you don't know something, then you assume you have to go the long way around, right? You
Right.
assume that in order for you to do this, then you would have to then go and save up because your funds are locked away. In order for you to gain access to those funds, that you'd have to pay a penalty, right?
Right.
Or you'd be taxed on those funds in order to pull them out to be able to use them and invest in something that makes more sense for you. And that's not the case. And again, if you are thinking, well, gosh, how could I gain control of my previous employer's plan and reallocate those funds or reposition them to suit me better? Here's where you go. Just go there and you'll learn all about what this side of getting properly structured, which is in regards to educating yourself on traditional versus non-traditional plans and what you can and cannot invest in too. That's a whole nother separate live stream that we'll do on what's the word,
No idea.
qualified investments. What are the what
Qualified plans,
no
self-directed. I have no
What you
annuities.
can,
What are we talking about?
what you can or can't invest in
Oh,
with.
non-traditional investments.
Okay, so one of those being real estate, right? The other one being Bitcoin
Yeah, there's a lot. Again, there's a lot. Land, subject tos,
or
again,
crypto. Yeah.
precious metals. There's a lot. We couldn't list them all in this hour that we do this. So there's a lot.
Okay, we have some questions, so
Yeah,
let's
let's jump in.
jump into those. Jeff wants to know, and hey Jeff, he wants to know if I am younger than 59 and a half, what is the cost to change 401k to Roth?
Yeah, so that really more depends on your, I'll call it your tax bracket. Converting a dollar amount, converting traditional dollars to Roth is really just an act. And there are, I want to say, 3 or 4 steps that have to be made. And I'm going off the top of my head, but I think I can name them all. The first step that has to happen as it relates to converting traditional dollars over to Roth is you just have to decide to do it. Now, if you have a self-directed retirement account, even an IRA for that matter, when you decide to convert those traditional dollars to Roth, like let's say I did today on 12/3. Well, as of 12/3, when I decide to use those dollars as Roth, I can now any investment that I make from 12/3 forward, I am investing using Roth dollars, meaning I am growing tax-free profit. So it's a decision. And then once I've made that decision, and at the end of the year, when I go to file my taxes, I have to pay taxes on the amount that I convert to Roth. So using round numbers, let's say I've got $50,000 and I decide today that $50,000 in my 401k I'm converting to Roth. I take that $50,000 and I invest in some real estate venture. Well, from this point forward, I'm now using that dollar amount as Roth. At the end of the year, on December 31st, when I capture everything that I'm going to file my taxes on, I have to file taxes on the $50,000 that I converted to Roth. Well, if between December 3rd and the end of the year that $50,000 becomes 100, well, my 50,000 of Roth dollars just made 50,000 of Roth profit, but I don't have to account for that profit amount in those taxes. I'm only paying taxes on the amount that I converted. And I can continue using that $50,000 for the next however long and build Roth profit off that $50,000. Well, the next phase in this process is 5 years. My Roth account has to be in place for 5 years. Once my account, so again, I made a decision, I paid taxes on the amount I converted. My account has been in place for 5 years. Once my account has been in place for 5 years, now all of those dollars that have created or grown Roth profit on are now officially Roth, meaning they're officially tax-free dollars. And then the last piece is I have to be 59 and a half, as you mentioned in your question. At 59 and a half, I can now take tax-free distributions from all of those dollar amounts. So what is the cost? The cost is however much it costs for you to convert that dollar amount to Roth at the end of the tax year. Other than that, there are no costs.
Okay, that was a great question, by the way.
A whole lot of
And
words to get to that answer too.
well, I really wanted to ask, I'm going to come back to Jeff's question because I have a follow-up question in regards to why would somebody want to take advantage of what we just shared tonight? Why wouldn't they just say, I don't care about what the maximum contributions are because I would rather pay on the taxes on the seed and get the harvest for free and
Hmm.
live in a Roth environment with my retirement or my investment dollars, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So why I want to just cliffhanger. Why would somebody want to pay attention to required contributions? Why? How would this benefit somebody to take advantage of this, or are you just being taken advantage of?
Hmm.
Is there a place, a box somewhere, like a little space where somebody would benefit from taking advantage of this? So I'm going to put a pin in it for now. And we're going to go to April's question.
What's up, April?
Okay. April says, how can people strategically use and fund their HSA accounts to use for retirement?
So it goes back to HSAs are really powerful vehicles as well. HSAs aren't the problem. The problem is who the HSA is with. So can you treat Can an HSA function very similar to a traditional retirement account or a self-directed retirement account? It can. The only reason it's not is because of who currently has the HSA, where the HSA is sitting, what rules or what confines or what boundaries your HSA what boundaries has been placed on your HSA. That's really more the issue. So how can people strategically use and fund their HSA? Again, you can contribute to it, and you're contributing to it from a tax deferred basis. Can you invest those HSA dollars in non-traditional investments? That goes back to who has your HSA. If it's structured properly, then you can probably, again, if it's structured properly and you're able to self-direct your HSA, you can invest in what you want. But as we all know, that health savings account is probably tied to a Morgan Stanley, Fidelity, Edward Jones, or one of the traditional financial institutions where they only allow you to invest in what they have to offer, which means that HSA can only be invested in mutual funds, stocks, and bonds. And that's just one of the, I'll call it one of the failures of the process itself. And again, it has nothing to do with the HSA. It has to do with who the HSA is with.
Okay. Now we have Lolo. Hey, Lolo.
What's up,
And
Lola?
she wants to know, how is a self-directed 401k different from a self-employed pension SEP?
SEP IRA. So first off, a SEP IRA is an IRA. It's just it's an IRA that has a few more features that allows you to actually contribute more money than a traditional IRA. But the moral of the story is it's just an IRA. And what makes a 401k better or different is the structure, control, contribution limits. Again, IRA, you can contribute more. I'm sorry, a SEP IRA, you can contribute more than a traditional IRA, but the limitations on the vehicle, the limitations on the vehicle itself are the same. You're still subject to UBIT if you're trying to use it outside of, I'll call it traditional investing. And 9 times out of 10, you can't self-direct a SEP IRA. All you can do is convert that SEP IRA into a 401k or into a self-directed IRA if you're wanting control over it. So really, it's just a SEP IRA is really no different other than it's designed for companies that have, I think it's a company that has fewer than maybe 20 employees or something like that. So I'll call it a dumbed down version of a 401k, and it's designed to reduce the costs associated with that business who created the SEP IRA. So it's really more designed to help the employer than it is the individual.
That sucks. Hate that for people. But here's the thing that I really like about learning about the evolution of retirement accounts, because we get to see how solutions were added, whether if it was a solution for the employer, right, for corporations, or if they were solutions for the end user, which are us guys. We get to see the evolution of these account types and the I think positioning of the solutions. Like, why were these called solutions? Why were these things added into the mix? Roth got a lot of, I would say, there was a lot of confusion around Roth accounts when they first came out. And I really like talking about this because we're talking about you maximize your contributions, you take advantage of what it is that we're talking about tonight. And now you've saved yourself in the front end on right, it's tax deferred dollars, so that decreases your taxable income. Get that, love that. However, now you're paying more. And the whole point when Roth came out was like, well, hey, let's pay more in taxes now. And in the beginning, because everything was about being tax deferred, that was like the winner chicken dinner, right? That was the best thing since sliced bread. Everybody was like, oh no, to decrease your taxable income, that's what you want to do. So then the conspiracy was like, they want you to pay more in taxes now because they want your money, right? And really the truth was the people who were looking at it from the long game standpoint, they were like, no, you know what? We do not want to pay 2023 tax fees on 1989 or 1998, 19 or year $2,000, right? the big difference there,
Right.
especially when you're talking about paying the taxes on like $10,000 versus paying it on $100,000. Now, what sucks for that is that people love to use this example, but because the majority of those funds were tied to the stock market and we had so much devastation happen with the real estate market and everything else, that the people who did pay those taxes, they could have had much better performance had it not have been for the other people who are making decisions along the way that they could not control the impact of those decisions. So there's that, right? So was it the best for them if they already had paid the taxes? Probably still yes, in the long run, right? But does it matter if everything's tied up in the stock market? Did the financial advisors, did the brokers, did they get chargebacks on their fees, right?
Right.
Hey, you know what? We know that you took 2/3 of this account, but actually 2/3 of the value of this account also just crashed. So we're going to need some of that back. Not a thing, doesn't exist. That's just true, right? My
No, it's absolutely factual. And, who benefits, right?
Yeah,
From a tax deferred perspective, we've been conditioned to believe that we benefit.
yeah.
We get to reduce our tax burden. And when you peel back the layers, though, what we're doing is we're allowing the government to have an open checkbook to charge us whatever the tax rate is in the future. Now, if you're an optimist and you believe that the tax rate's going to be lower, continue deferring your taxes. But if you're a realist and you've been doing this for a while, you know the tax rate isn't doing anything but continuing to increase. So why would I give the government even more of my money? Now, if you listen to the gurus, though, their perspective on this is, well, you'll actually be making less money. So because you're making less money in the future, then don't you want to be in a lower tax? You'll be in a lower tax bracket anyway, so it won't matter as much. And all that tells me is these gurus are expecting you to be poor. These gurus are expecting you to be making less than you're currently making today.
Or
And
showing less. Could be
right.
that you're just showing less on paper, right?
Okay. But my point is, why would that be okay? Why would we accept that? We shouldn't.
Well, I think this leads into what Tom was saying here. He was just agreeing because of you two. I got the first position HELOC, and I'm drilling this burden away. Thank you for the help changing my path of my future. Tom, we love that, and thank you for sharing that feedback. That's My heart is so full to hear how we're able, if and when we're able to help people, because that's the whole point. But here's why I think that this fits in with what Tom's talking about. In order to be able to qualify for debt tools, debt weapons, wealth building strategies, you have to be able to qualify. And if you're siloed in, like no different than a lot of people who are siloed in the velocity banking journey, and they're just focused on debt reduction. This includes their cars, this includes their home, right? They get these blinders on and tunnel vision, and then they forget, they wake up and they go, oh, gosh, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later, I paid off everything now. Everything's finally paid off. I made it. And this is the moment where they realize, well, I didn't put myself in a position to build wealth. I didn't put myself in a position to qualify for something that would actually help me, that I could leverage along the way and utilize in different ways versus just addressing the debt. So Tom being able to qualify for a first position HELOC as part of his debt tool, he's able to leverage this in a different way, not just for reducing debt, not just to put himself in a better position in regards to that, but now he's he has a tool that he can use, a multi-use tool, right? And
Swiss
that's the
Army
smart
knife.
way. Yeah. Yeah, it's a
And
Swiss Army knife. It really is.
absolutely, it is because it allows you to not just eliminate debt, but if used correctly, you can also use it to use it to fund a tool that can help you build wealth. So it's absolutely a jack of all trades, an opportunity to be able to do many things with this one vehicle. So,
Yeah. Okay. There's a Jeremiah had a question, so I want to
mhm.
bring this up real quick, and then we'll go to my question. Um, how can I find out if you have a retirement account from an old employer?
Yeah, I'm getting served a lot of ads on there's this
Beagle.
app, yeah, whatever it's called, some app that allows you to be able to do it. And I'm old school, so I'm gonna first start with I'm calling the company that I used to work for and put me with HR or paying benefits. I'm gonna start there. And I would hope that HR or paying benefits can connect me to my old account number, or at least, if nothing else, give me the phone number of who to call to be able to go find that retirement account. I've had to do this with a couple of employers, and this is many years ago, so I wasn't using some app or I didn't really get any assistance. So, other than me being old school and calling HR or calling paying benefits, I really don't have an answer as to what other approach you might want to take.
Yeah, I do see a lot of these ads. We've not gone through
Mm-mm,
and the process, so we
no.
can't really speak to them. But there are, because of this problem, right? A lot of people were like, well, 401k, whatever, I'll throw some money in there. And they went and got a new job. And then they just thought, it doesn't matter because there's not a lot in there. I'll just collect them. Like, I don't know, action figures or something.
Right.
For some people, that is how it is. Uh, I would say maybe look into that, and then maybe you jump back into our Facebook group and help educate others on what you found. I think that would be an amazing thing.
One thing that I've noticed, because I've run across this question with several clients over the years, a lot of times, um, I've had clients whose retirement, I won't call them retirement dollars because they're not dollars. Their retirement shares were tied up
Mm.
in computer share.
Hmm.
So, eh, for those who may not understand what computer share might be, so let's say you work for a company, and that company's 401k is with Fidelity, and then you leave that company and you now go work for a new company whose retirement is through Edward Jones. Well, Fidelity and Edward Jones don't talk. And what you said was, "Hey, I want to move. I want my either you didn't reach out to the employer or the previous employer to have things moved. It's just been sitting in limbo. A lot of times, those companies will put that those shares with computer share, and what happens is computer share, it's just sitting there idle. It's sitting there still invested in whatever the mutual fund stocks and bonds they were sitting at Fidelity. It's just Fidelity is not managing it. So computer share is like a holding company. I don't know what to call it, a holding company. And a lot of times that's where your retirement account is sitting. So how do you get to it? Well, you do
Mm.
need whatever that account number was with that previous employer to even be able to get to computer share. I would say 9 times out of 10, they can get to whatever those dollars are, or whatever those shares are with your social security number. But my point is, I do know I've run across several clients who has lingering or old retirement accounts sitting at a computer share waiting to be captured.
The way, for anyone on LinkedIn, I'm sure you get the uh, Chucky Schwab, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, tons of Vanguard ads that come up, right? And it always seems like it is like a DC versus Marvel type of vibe with who advocates for who, right?
Mhm.
And so I can imagine going from one job where this is how we do things and then trying to roll it over. Even you've seen people have problems. Sometimes it's really fast and being able to convert their funds over into a self-directed 401k. But sometimes they're like, we don't do that here. Like
Right,
they will try to Thanos your account before they let it go, right?
right.
Did you see what I did there?
I did. I
Thank
did.
you. Thank you. Okay, Veronica has a question.
Yes.
I do drive for Uber and Insta. I
Mhm.
would like, would I have to get an LLC in order to get a 401k, self-directed 401k?
Mhm.
Because it would actually be Uber or Maple Bear. I think Instacart is what she means,
Yeah.
that holds the name.
So more than likely, you are driving for Uber and Instacart using your social security number, which means you're a 1099 employee. And so that 1099 income is enough, is sufficient enough for you to have your own self directed 401k. So you do not, it's not required that you have an LLC. What the LLC or S Corp or C Corp does for you, it provides you with structure. So can you have a self directed 401k with just the 1099 income? Absolutely, you can. and maybe you start there. But again, what having an LLC does is it provides you some protection. It provides you more structure for you to be able to, in case if in case something were to happen and you were to be sued, would they be able to get to your personal um, um, information if they're going through your LLC or your S corp, right? So it's really more a protection piece. But absolutely, 1099 income is sufficient.
Okay, how to invest for yourself says I asked my company about self-directing my IRA or rolling it over to a Roth IRA or doing a Roth 401k self-directed, and they told me no, and not just no, but hell no.
And what's funny is I started laughing because I didn't know what you were going to say because I didn't really see it. But then I saw the no, hell no. I wasn't laughing because I read it. I was laughing because I know what they already said. So
And why? Why don't companies allow you to take control while you're working there?
again, who benefits? If we assume that we're contributing to this 401k because somehow this 401k benefits us, and in truth, it does not. This 401k is a vehicle for your company, and your company is in full control over it. Now, you can leverage against it. You can continue contributing to it, and at a later date, some point in the future, after we've taken 2/3 in fees out of your account, yes, you will be able to use it, and it will be yours. But while you still work for us, we control it the same way we control you.
Okay, that's fair enough. Okay, I want to real quick. I want to ask you a question. Just I could ask you off camera, of course, but I do want to go through this part because I do think it's important. So I'm
Okay,
gonna
what
bring
am I
up
walking into?
I'm gonna bring back up the vibe board.
Okay.
Okay, I can't move it from here, but can you move it to the taxable income for this versus that?
This right. This right
Yeah,
here.
yeah.
Talking about this one.
Yep, the two. Can you get them? Are you able to get them
Oh,
both in there?
yeah, I can. I didn't know you were on the half board. I'm sorry. Yes, I can. Matter of fact, let me move some things around real quick.
No, no, no. You're fine. You're fine. I just because I just want. You're fine. You're fine to leave it.
Okay.
We're getting to the point, guys. Hold on. Okay, this is all I really wanted to do. Here is there are so many people who. Okay, can you see me? All right.
I
There's
can.
so many people who are here in this process. And of course, there's a lot of things that come with having an employer. This isn't about knocking employer
Yeah.
income or anything like that. It's saying this. This is knowing that this is the full amount that you could have, but for most people, it's like not only is it just this or far less than that percentage. What I want to point out is there are so many people who are afraid to move into uh, and healthcare is an issue, so that's a separate conversation. Although I get it, it's that the amount of uh, the amount of contribution allowed for a self-directed account. This is what I want to talk about right here. What is the benefit of somebody who, whether you are doing this through your employer or you're doing this through, you start a business so that you can qualify for this amount? What are the benefits? The one that sticks out the most to me that I just want to make sure that we leave people with is that just because you have tax deferred these dollars, these particular ones here on this side, that there's you the money inside of this account is different than if it's inside of this account. Completely different. How it functions, how you have access to it, what it is that you can do with it. So even if it's tax deferred, you still have leverage. With so many people who are looking for, they're going to leverage their equity and they're going to pay X amount of dollars on it or percentage on it, right? They're leveraging a debt tool and they're paying that company to leverage those funds. what would be the cost, and would it be make sense if you had your own business and you were able to contribute, because you can contribute more than a percentage of your income like you can over here, right? You
Right.
can contribute almost 100% of your income over here, and then you can also leverage it, right?
Right.
So not only are you saving because you're not paying in taxes, and I'm not saying this for the long term. What I'm saying is for the people who are riddled in debt, for the people who
People who
need,
need to defer their taxes. Yes.
yes, people who need to get out of a situation, and
Yes.
we talk to so many of these people. If you can reduce the amount of taxes that you're paying in a year, right? You can increase your leverage. Didn't say your income, but you can increase your leverage. And you, instead of paying the interest to a mortgage company, instead of paying the interest to a credit card company, you're paying the interest to yourself.
That's it.
So what else would I be missing out of this? I mean, this could be like a whole new live stream, but what else would I be missing out of this equation to, for somebody to go, why would we defer the taxes? Why would we do this, Donnell? Why would this even make sense for somebody who, um, we always preach to live in a Roth environment? It's the
Mhm.
best situation. Other than what I just described, or if there's anything you want to add on to this, why should somebody's ears perk up as far as how to leverage this as an opportunity?
Well, let's be very, very specific. Again, when we went through the the 2008 debacle and had to end up short selling our home, and credit score went from seven whatever it was down to 504. How do we get ourselves out of it? Well, luckily, I had a previous employer's plan that was transferred over to a self-directed 401k, which allowed us to be able to borrow against that self-directed 401k and leverage it to be able to use to be able to help get us out of debt, get us in a position to where we could get a velocity banking vehicle, and then use that velocity banking vehicle to be able to ultimately right the ship and get ourselves back into a positive cash flow position. But the bottom line is there's infinite number of ways I'll call it deferring those taxes could be leveraged because of the deferring the taxes could the impact that deferring taxes could have because of your ability to be able to leverage the dollar amount. Meaning, if you're in a situation where you need to reduce your tax liability to begin with, but you still need access to the majority of the dollars to be able to use for whatever that non-traditional investment might be, still allows you to be able to do that. And here, I'm a fan of um, living in a Roth environment, but I'm not a fan of taking the full brunt of whatever that tax implication might be. Meaning, if if I've got $100,000 in my self-directed 401k and it's all traditional dollars, and my goal is to convert all $100,000 to Roth, well, I'm going to do some math. I'm 50 years old. I've got 10 years before I can use this money anyway. So instead of taking a $100,000 tax hit today, I'm going to convert $10,000 a year for the next 10 years, which means by the time I am 60, by the time I am at a point where I can leverage or use this money effectively, I would have converted all of those dollars over to Roth, and I wouldn't have taken the brunt of that tax hit all at once. So there are many, like again, there's so many scenarios that I don't know that I could list them all. But the bottom line is it all revolves around the word leverage. Your ability to have full access to these dollars to be able to take the necessary steps to hit your goal, to achieve your WTF moment.
Well, and for some people, like even just this amount here, if you're not at a hundred thousand, right? If this is you, can you see? Okay.
Mhm.
Oh, what did it make there?
No, you were yeah, you're good.
I'm trying to use the vibe board too, guys. Okay. So if let's say this is what you made in your business that year, you're still able to contribute. So what you would pay taxes on, this could be huge for somebody, because paying taxes on a business is different than the taxes and how it's structured for your personal,
Mhm.
for your employer, right?
Absolutely. I've got clients who, because they have commingled accounts, the income that was being paid to a spouse is actually all now going into their self-directed 401k, and they're still using it the same way, meaning the money that was being paid out to the spouse they ended up paying taxes on was still being used in those real estate ventures or the ability to buy assets. Well, all they did was, instead of taking the tax hit from that perspective, they just took that same dollar amount, and now without the tax burden, and dumped it into your self-directed 401k. And still, because it's a self-directed 401k, allows you to still buy the same properties and do the same investment actions that you were originally going to do with the dollar amount before. There's some savvy ways to go about using these and leveraging these dollars.
April, your question, don't people incur fees when they tap into IRA, even a self-directed one? Well, and what we're talking about is a 401k. So there are different rules, which is what Donnell, when he does his big masterclass, that's what he goes over. But didn't we pay fees? Well, this is what I was
Let's
talking
talk about
about.
it. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
leave it up. Leave it up.
Okay.
Because there's a few pieces in there that I want to hit. So a couple things. Don't people incur fees when they tap into their IRA? The key word is tap into their IRA. What do you mean? Well, the way this sentence is structured is, what you're saying is, hey, I'm going to take money out of my IRA and go do something with it. That's not what we're saying. What we're saying is, we're going to transfer money from that previous employer's plan. We're going to transfer money from that old IRA and transfer that money into our own self-directed IRA, or into our own self-directed 401k. And when we do that, we have different levers that we can pull. Specifically with a self-directed 401k, to answer the second question, didn't you pay mad fees when you tapped into yours in 2008? And it's actually more like 2012, but yes. So the answer to that question would be no. And why is that? I transferred funds, and let me give you the specifics. I transferred funds from my previous employer's plan with Ford Motor Company, because I was no longer with Ford Motor Company. And I moved that dollar amount into my self-directed 401k, which I had created under our own LLC. And when those funds move there, I now have full access to those funds to be able to invest in what I want. Well, I needed to borrow against that my self-directed 401k, so that I could use those funds for anything. No different than if if I'd have stayed at Ford Motor Company, I could borrow from my 401k at Ford Motor Company, right? Well, when I have my own self-directed 401k, I can borrow against my own 401k. And using just round numbers, say the 401k had $100,000 in it. Well, you can borrow 50% of what's in your 401k up to 50,000, which means I have the ability to borrow 50,000 from myself. When I borrow that 50,000 from myself, I can use it for whatever I want. And there's no tax implications because it's borrowed dollars. In addition, because I'm borrowing from myself, I set the rules
Right.
within reason, meaning I decide what the interest rate is I'm going to charge myself. I set the terms on which I'm going to charge myself back that interest. I create the timing around how long it's going to take for that to occur. Now, there are some guidelines that I have to stay within, but the moral of the story is I get to decide what that looks like. And as I'm paying that money back to myself, all of it comes back to me, which means once it's all paid back, I get to do it all again. So didn't I incur mad fees? Yeah, I incur some interest, but it's interest that I charge myself.
Okay, real quick though, I do want to say this part because this is a misconception that exists on the internet in these interweb streets,
Interwebs.
that all self-directed or solo 401ks are alike. And
Man.
so when you say you didn't have fees, when you say that, you're not talking about the solo or self-directed 401k that you got down the street or from somebody else. You're talking about the one that you set up with the low fees, because it has low fees and because there's no one siphoning off of that account, right?
So let's be very, very specific. And again, keep it in the realm of the 401k. Um, I beat up on traditional retirement accounts like 401ks because of the fee structure, because you're paying this 1% fee to Fidelity or Vanguard or whatever, and it's eating up 2/3 of the amount that's inside of your 401k. Well, you know how to beat that. You want to know how to beat that? What you do is you take those 401k dollars and you transfer them to your own 401k. Well, a properly designed self-directed 401k, see, a self-directed 401k is a trust. A 401k does not require a custodian. What that means is a 401k properly designed does not require Vanguard or Edward Jones or Fidelity. It does not require them. Because it does not require them, that allows the person who's structuring the 401k, myself, it allows me to now negotiate those fees and remove them because there's no one required to manage your account. You are managing your account. There's no one required to. We can eliminate the balance transfer fees, the check writing fees, the redistribution fees, the 1% maintenance fee, because there aren't any. And so the custodians we use for our self-directed retirement accounts do not charge any fees. So we're able to eliminate that again. And to your point, sweetheart, you cannot go to just any place to get a self-directed 401k and expect that same treatment because it just doesn't work that way. And think about it. Why would banks create a vehicle like this if they could get paid off the vehicle continuously? Like that's how banks make their money, right? They create the spread. And so they charge you a certain dollar amount, and then they use your dollar and go charge a higher dollar amount to create that difference, create that spread. So we have the ability to negotiate those fees or eliminate those fees, and that's what we do with our self-directed retirement accounts. Now, with a self-directed IRA, we have the ability to negotiate the fees, but IRAs are a little bit different. IRAs require custodial support. IRAs are just glorified savings accounts, so they do require some, I'll call it activity from a custodian to be able to allow you to be able to do what you want to with that account. So therefore, I can't eliminate custodial fees with IRAs, but I can reduce them. We can reduce them. So the custodians that we work with, I would say, comparatively, if you were to compare us to other people who offer self-directed IRAs, specifically the major banks, we can absolutely destroy those fees because they're looking to nickel and dime you for the rest of your life. Whereas the fees associated with our self-directed IRAs are flat fees. So.
Okay, just because it's all in the same context, and then we have a question from Roderick, is if it's a trust, then there aren't any contribution limits, right?
So self-directed IRA, an IRA stands for individual retirement account. An IRA is just a glorified savings account. An IRA is not a trust. But a self-directed 401k, again, based off the 401 code that it's in, a 401k has its own EIN number. A 401k is a trust. Now, does that mean there aren't any contribution limits? There are contribution limits, but they are considerably higher, probably 10 times higher.
Okay. And next is Roderick. He said, since I joined the self-directed community, I want to stop contributing to my employer's 401k and use these dollars to help fund my MPI account. In your opinion, is this a good plan to follow?
Yeah. So as a retirement guy, I can't in good conscience say, yeah, it's okay for you to take a tax and penalty hit on your company's 401k and take that cash and dump it into a secure compound interest account or a life insurance based product. I cannot. But I can do the math. Because in some cases the math may make sense, but in some cases the math may not. And I'll give you two quick examples. I've got clients who just started their career, right? 24, 25-year-old just started with this company. They sat me in this cafeteria and I had to fill out this paperwork. So I just started this 401k and I may have been contributing to it a year, and I might have $12,000 in it. Does it mathematically make sense to take the tax and penalty hit on $12,000 and take, let's just do actual math. So if it's 12,000, 30% tax hit, 3 times 12 is 36. So does it make sense to take that $9,000 and dump that into a secure compound interest account and get it working for you? That math tells me I can beat whatever that performance was going to be inside that company's 401k all day long. But let's say you've been with your company for 25 years, 30 years, and you've got this 401k with $500,000 in it. Is it okay for you to take a 30% hit? That's a $150,000 loss inside of that 401k and get it into a secure compound interest producing vehicle? I can't justify that.
Yeah, he was
So,
talking about referring to his monthly contribution, not close the account, but
okay.
just the
So
monthly.
So absolutely. So even on that note, though, let's say there's a match. Let's say your company has 100% match. So does it make sense to give up that 100% match to put it in a different vehicle? Again, let's do the math. Let's determine whether or not that 100% match would actually do better for you, where it is, and how much income could be produced. My point is still the same, and that is I'd have to do the math to be able to determine. I have several clients who have reduced their company 401k or company retirement account contributions down to whatever that match is. So they can still get the free money and then take that extra dollar amount and get it into a secure compound interest producing vehicle. I have several clients who do that. So, yeah.
Okay. I think we could do a whole live stream on this topic for sure. We've done some deep dives into self-directed accounts.
Mhm.
But here's why I think that this is important. There are so many people that were quietly quitting, right? There's a lot of strategies out here, especially watching somebody who's been there for they're tenured. They've been there a long time, watching new people be hired with less skill, less experience for more money, just simply because you started off at a smaller amount based on
Right.
the going rate at the time. So there are some people who are quitting and then going right back to the same company and getting hired on for more. This could be a part of your strategy because technically they became a previous employer for whatever that time period is.
Very
The
true.
other thing that is popular is the I can't remember what the name is. I think it's called a fractal freelancing. So instead of you getting hired on or a company wanting to hire a CEO or CFO, for instance, if this is a role that you played, but you're not able to, if you don't like the hours that you are working, or you're not able to command the income, or there seems to be a ceiling, there are a lot of companies that are hiring part-time people within these roles so that they don't have to hire somebody who is full-time, right? That means that now you have contracts in the same way, but you have like a part-time contract. So essentially you are a 1099 contractor for this company, but because they're able to save money, they are paying at a higher rate for the part-time work. You can also have other clients. So in a sense, you could almost be getting paid double what you were getting paid before, because now you can, whether this company hires you at one rate and you have two other companies that have you on retainer just as a consultant even, right? Or five other companies that have you on retainer for as a consultant. This is blowing up right now. This would be an amazing opportunity for somebody to pay attention to this, because this is where, if you're thinking about leveraging a debt tool or some sort of line of credit to help you accelerate your debt, what?
Bruh.
Debt, debt reduction, journey, your velocity banking journey, if you want to be able to utilize some of these strategies, then this would be a good idea for you. And here's why: because we were talking about this, and this is the part right here. It's regardless of how much you're making. Oh, now my pen is not coming
And
on.
I,
No, here we go. Okay, yeah, all right. It's not about how much you're making. It's how much you're allowed to contribute inside of it, so that you can have store it away, so you can still have access to it, so that you have access to it. And to April's point, yes, April, you have to. There's a penalty, right? So if you borrow half of that, and then you have to make the terms to pay it back, how is that any different than borrowing from a HELOC, right?
right.
How is it
Right.
any different than
Right.
having a credit card or some
It's
sort of line of
leverage.
credit?
It's
Right.
leverage.
It's that's all it is. But this time, April, instead, you would pay it back to yourself. So let's say let's change this. Let's say this is the amount that you borrowed. Let's just change that. Then what you're paying back goes to you, not to the credit card
Right.
company.
That's it.
That's a win-win. And I think that understanding where these strategies exist, that they even exist, is freeing for some people. Because could you imagine getting locked up into a line of credit, right? Can you imagine if, oh, I gave,
You don't want to
no,
join me?
hold on,
I know.
get out of here, wheel. All right. Can you imagine not having access to these accounts, having access to these strategies and not even being able to utilize them? They're just sitting there. Meanwhile, there are these banks, there are these predatory lenders who are able to offer you something. Here you go. And they're getting paid. They're the ones benefiting. So of course, this is their business. They're in the business of making money off of people who need access to money. So that leverage is leverage, but there are different types of leverage, and some are better for us than others. I think just not knowing these things and then realizing later down the road, like I could have, if I would have just known that existed, is different, and it's freeing for a lot of people.
Well, and you bring up a really, really good point, and I want to highlight. I want to address Rose's question, so don't let me forget. But as it relates to the people that you were referencing, getting hired back and for a large amount or whatever, all I hear in that is people are learning how to leverage the company that they work for the same way that company had been leveraging them this whole time. Meaning, how many stories are there out there? Because I can tell you many of them where you're doing your job, someone leaves, and some manager walks up to you and go, you know what? Here's an opportunity for you. Here's an opportunity to do your job and this job of the guy who just left. And if you do it well, eventually you might be able to step into that position, or we might reward you for it. Like so exactly. So how I think what we're learning is there's a way that we can now leverage these companies, leverage these banks, leverage these life insurance companies, leverage these financial institutions the way they've always been leveraging us, because we're learning more. We know more now. And this generation is just different. It is not a I will put in all of the work and not and my worth will not be considered until I have reached some peak. No, it's like, no, I know my worth. And I am not going to do something for nothing. So this is my job, and I will do my job. But if you need me to do this job over here, you're going to have to compensate me for it. So,
Yeah.
right. So
Just op-
Rose, go ahead.
okay. No, go ahead.
So just open a self-directed Roth with Bank of America, and I love me some Bank of America, by the way. And I want to invest in REITs and
CDs.
CDs, secure, no risk. What should I be looking for? Well, I'm not saying that your Roth, I'm assuming it's an IRA, your self-directed Roth IRA with Bank of America is not great. I'm not going to say that. What you have to be careful for is understand what Bank of America does and what they don't do. Bank of America, their Merrill Edge side of Bank of America. Again, I know Bank of America pretty well. Their Merrill Edge side of Bank of America is where that's their investment wing. So that's where you can invest in mutual funds, stocks, bonds, and all of this stuff. Well, my gut says when you get a self-directed retirement account, self-directed IRA, or whatever the vehicle is from a Bank of America, they're going to now allow you to self-direct those dollars and invest in whatever it is they have to offer. If REITs and CDs is something that they offer, then you will be allowed to invest in it. But if REITs and CDs are not something that they particularly offer, then you will not. And so I think the first thing to look at is really understanding what self directed means and what type of flexibility you need as it relates to a self directed vehicle versus becoming fully self-directed and getting I'll call it a self-directed IRA or 401k that allows you to not just invest in Bank of America's REITs or Bank of America CDs, but you can go outside of Bank of America and invest in what you want, with who you want, however you want, and still accomplish the same goal. And you don't have to, I'll call it, be confined or restricted by the custodian that happens to have your self-directed retirement account.
Man, and the quality of the questions that you know to ask, because uh, there are a lot of people who made a lot of assumptions in the custodian or the company that they use to set up a self-directed account to gain access to their funds, and they maybe they said something like, oh, it's only maybe free, right? Could be free to sign up with this account, or some couple $100 to sign up with the account, but they didn't know to ask, what are the fees,
Right.
right? They didn't know to compare the fees. They didn't know to compare the process of gaining access to your funds also.
Right.
So if you're looking to, when we say be fully self-directed, we're talking about cutting out the middleman. There's nobody that you need to ask permission to gain access to your funds, because you're self-directed. You're the one making those decisions, so there's no one that you have to convince on what it is that you want to invest in. That's where I was going with Lolo. Not only is it knowing what to invest in, but it's also, do you know who you have to talk to? Do you know what the process is to access that so that you can invest? And here's why I say this, because Roderick's also, he was asking, do you have any masterclass sessions in the Phoenix area? Please send me an invite. And you do present in Phoenix and
I'm in
Scottsdale.
Scottsdale all the time.
Yeah. And and again, some of these events are private events that they're nothing that we're hosting, right? You're not hosting them. You're just asked to be like keynote speaker at these
I'm
events.
the cleanup. They call me in. Hey, I've got this room full of people that have no idea how to access their money, and I come in and I show them how to access all of their money, and then I walk away. So,
Yeah. Well, that is, you're like, you're a fixer in that way.
mhm,
However, we are going to be in San Diego next week. That starts our tour.
mhm.
Super excited.
Ends our tour for 2023.
Yeah. Well, we didn't really go on tour this year though.
Orlando,
Oh yeah,
mm,
yeah, yeah. Okay, that's true.
Norfolk.
Yeah, but it wasn't like this much.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no
Yeah.
doubt, no doubt.
Yeah, this is a lot more this coming year. So
Mhm.
the point is, he says, I want to be at this tour. We have been asking, where are you guys? What city are you in? And if we were to go to an event, if it was a private event where we couldn't necessarily invite other people into this, or we wouldn't want to, because this is a particular type of investment group. For some of these investment groups, they are invite only. For some of them, we could invite you.
Yeah.
Some of them we could. And to answer Lolo's question, some of those are self-storage. There's a lot of different types of opportunity, and I think the most precious opportunity inside of someone who understands how to leverage, or the reason why they have a self-directed 401k, is your self-storage story. And I think it would answer April's question too. She says, can you give a quick overview of how to become your own bank? I think you can knock all these birds out with this one stone by sharing this self-storage journey, I guess.
So, um, yeah, it's all about control. So again, what we talk about on this channel is not what we think you should do. It's giving you insight into what it is we actually do.
Yeah.
And these things are, and each one of these different vehicles that we discuss, this is not something that neither one of us went to school for, or we had any dream of even being in this industry. It's you almost tripping over and stumbling over these types of opportunities. One of them being self-storage. So as I mentioned earlier, I had a self-directed 401k, and um, I got the self-directed 401k because our objective was to get ourselves out of debt because of what happened, throughout that, the short sale of the home. I had to get our credit score back up so that we could then buy another home. So in the midst of doing all of that, because I was getting educated around the self-directed retirement space and educating others around the self-directed retirement space, there's these different I'll call it communities that I found myself in. One of them being self-storage. One of them being, hey, if you could get rid of your tenants, toilets, and trash, is it a more lucrative opportunity for you to be able to take your hard-earned investment dollars and buy a building that has 3 walls and a garage door, no people, and so it's just monthly income? Oh, and here's the opportunity. We've got this property being built in Bethesda, Maryland, that it's about a $44 million project. We're looking for about 100 plus investors, and the minimum investment is 25 grand a person. And the rules around it is, hey, we will pay you a 1% return on the money that you contribute or the money that you're investing. And that 1% return will be paid out to you in monthly increments. And once the property is completely constructed, 80% full, then we sell. And once we sell, the return on top of that would be somewhere between 20 and 30%. It's okay, just the math. 1% interest only payments, 12% a year. Once the property is 80% full, somewhere between 20 and 30% on top. So that's 20 to 30% on top of the 12 that you've already received. That's 32 to 42% return. Like, how do you not want to become a part of something like that? But if you're not structured, if my 401k is sitting with Fidelity, how am I able to take advantage of opportunities like that? If my IRA is sitting with Bank of America, would Bank of America allow me access to my IRA dollars to be able to invest in this opportunity? Because there's nothing Bank of America can show me that will allow me to produce a 32 to 42% return on my money. They don't offer it. It doesn't exist.
And most of these custodians, the paperwork you have to fill out, even with their self-directed options, just to be able to access your funds, the deal could have been gone. The opportunity
Exactly.
could have been gone. And that's
Exactly.
and that's the point that I'm trying to make is it wasn't just that you were in a position to take advantage of this opportunity. It's also that you were surrounding yourself with people and you were building a network, right, of people who had access to opportunities like this. Because had you not had access to people like that, then you wouldn't even have known that this existed. More importantly, though, you didn't get served an ad on Facebook to join this thing and maybe I'll check it out. It was you already knew people who were already investing and had already yielded those returns. And so therefore you walked in with a lot more confidence going, okay, let me learn how I can be down, right? And now this has been years and years we've been invested into these self-storage opportunities, right? So it's not a go on Facebook and go look for a self-storage opportunity. That I'm not saying do that. I'm not saying any ad that you get for anything that sounds like what we're talking about. I'm not saying that either because I can't vouch for a generalized opportunity. What I can say though is enriching your network and getting out there to network with other people who are like you. They will know where these opportunities are. They're not talking about them to everybody else. Not everybody's in a position to invest in them, and that's part of the reason why. But
And
even if they were structured to be able to position themselves in this way, they couldn't because by the time they cut through all of the red tape, the deal is gone. It's already other people have already taken advantage of it. So there's that.
and that is the premise behind Get Self-Directed. Because none of this matters if you're not structured properly. None
Right.
of this matters. None of these words, none of the opportunities we share on this channel mean anything if you're not prepared. And so
Right.
the goal is around getting self-directed is getting prepared so that you're in a position to be able to take action when you need to be able to take action, be able to pivot when you need to be able to pivot, to be able to have control over these different vehicles so that you can take action. The home, getting a first position HELOC is less about the first position HELOC. It's more about having control over the equity inside this home to be able to pivot and do when I need to pivot and do. Because with the mortgage, how much flexibility do you have with your mortgage to be able to take action on anything? Well, unless you refinance or sell the home, you don't have any.
Paperwork, red tape.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No control. So it's all about putting yourself in a position so that you can take action when it's time. I can't tell you these are the list of actions that you need to take, meaning these are the list of investment opportunities that's available to you. That's not my lane. I'm not I'm not a tax attorney. I'm not a financial advisor. This is not investment advice. I cannot tell you where to put your money. But what I can tell you is when you're properly structured and properly prepared, regardless of what that opportunity is, when it comes about, you're able to take advantage of it. Why? Because you have all of the proper pieces in place on this puzzle to be able to take action. There's no one in your way. There's no one you have to wait for. There's no one you have to ask permission from. There's no paperwork or no red tape that you have to go through. You have the full control of being able to take that action. And that's what this channel is about.
Everything we talk about is about having full control, and that's exactly what we mean when we talk about full control. There's a lot of people out here who I think would rather have like more of a white glove where somebody else or a service might be able to help them along with the process. But how do you know if somebody's doing a good job for you if you don't already understand the process? It's one thing for you to, here's a good example. You know how to do dishes, you know what clean dishes look like. But when you have your kids do the dishes, if you didn't understand what to expect out of that process, then you could be eating off of dirty dishes. You could be eating off of silverware that was rinsed off and not clean. You know the difference, right? But if you're not familiar with what the process is, then you would just have to take their word for it that they did a good job, right? And the truth is, you'd be grossed out inside. It's not a vibe. We don't want. It's not. It's not a good place to know when someone has not done a good job. It's one thing if it's like ignorance and they just don't know how to do the job, right? It's another thing if they're in the position to help you and then you have to learn that they haven't done their job. And I think there are way too many people in positions like this who, whether they're telling you no, you can't have access to it, they get to decide.
Right.
No, forget that. There are options to remove those types of people. And regardless of what community you belong to, there are far too many people within our communities who don't have access to things simply because there's a gatekeeper. Could be a gatekeeper of information, could be a gatekeeper of opportunity. To Lolo's point, how do you know what to invest in? Could be a gatekeeper in those investment opportunities. And so, therefore, being a part of better circles, being a part of increasing the size of your network and who your net worth is your network. A lot of people say that, but this is why it's true, right?
And I think the picture looks kind of rosy over here. But let's be clear. When you have this type of control, if you're not careful, you can get yourself in trouble. When you have this type, because again, no one's coming to save you. There's no one standing outside my door going, "Are you sure that's the right decision that you should make?" So you have to do your homework. You have
Right.
to do your research because this is absolutely all on you. A self-directed 401k. I think April had a question around: is the self-directed 401k sitting at a bank? So because how I word it, it sounds weird, right? A 401k does not require a custodian. A custodian is a bank. So a 401k is not required to have a bank, which implies if the 401k isn't required to have a bank, then it must not be sitting with some FDIC insured facility. And that's not true. A 401k is absolutely sitting in an FDIC insured bank. Yes. Matter of fact, a self-directed 401k that I create can sit with any bank.
Hmm.
That's not the issue. The issue isn't can it or is it with a bank? The issue is what role does that bank play?
Yeah.
What fees is that bank charging? And what you're able to do with a self-directed 401k is it puts us in a position because a bank isn't required. It puts us in a position to be able to negotiate those fees, to be able to get those fees removed, to be able to put you in a position to where all of your money is working for you. Why? Banks make money off the spread. They can still use your money sitting in your self-directed 401k at their facility and still make money off the spread by loaning your money out. They can make their money. They just don't have to nickel and dime you for it.
Right.
And that's the difference. You get a self-directed 401k with company over here, they're tied to this custodian that is still nickel and diming you in fees versus getting a self-directed 401k with this company over here that they were able to eliminate those fees because they're using what's called passive custodians, which means, yes, they hold your money. Yes, they contractually insure your money, but they're not nickel and diming you for any actions that you're wanting to take with your money.
Right. I'm going to go here to Roderick's comment. it does take discipline, but anything,
All of it does.
any level of greatness takes discipline. And we know that. We can all agree with that. But I think it is the commitment and the decisions that we're making. But it all falls to the question we ask all the time. What's the goal?
Right.
What is the goal? I think this is an amazing opportunity. Oh, somebody said the tech gremlins. Are we frozen?
Who's frozen? I'm frozen. Am I?
No. Okay. I think we're good. This isn't a good place for us to bring up the boat.
Right.
Because the amount of discipline and this is why we shared this particular story, because of the amount of discipline that it took to reach the goal. Now, ask yourself while you're watching this, because I don't think you can watch it too many times. It's no different than like an affirmation, right? You can't say it too many times. Ask yourself if your grandparents or great grandparents had the discipline that is required of you now in today's world, right? If they had that discipline to be able to set up and build generational wealth, to be able to put you and your descendants in a completely different place, if they had the discipline to do that, if not you, who, right? If you can see this goal and you are not clear on how to reach this goal, and you are not taking the steps and investing the time to map out what are the steps that I need to take in order to reach this goal? What are the things that I need to say yes to? What are the things I need to say no to in order to reach this goal? I think that is the, that right there is probably the most important sentiment that you can have when you're thinking about the amount of discipline, or you're thinking about the amount of responsibility that comes with being completely self-directed. It's not just the freedom part, right? Because it is. But if you can understand the reward in that freedom, if you understand the risk in not having that freedom, then you can see the discipline and it reframes it. There's a whole different perspective on it. So I think that this is a good time to remind us of why we hand out the boat, why we give away the boat, what this boat signifies, and why this little thing that seems probably insignificant to a lot of people when they maybe pop on and they don't really get it and they don't understand why we do it. This is why. Because it takes discipline. It is a commitment, not just to you, not just to yourself, but everybody in the boat with you. So let's take a look. In 1998, a British rowing team dreaming of the Olympic gold found themselves ranked 7th. Their focus had always been on the competition day, but they realized the keys to reaching their highest potential were hiding in the decisions that they'd make over those next 2 years.
Faced with two obvious choices, continue their current path and expect the same result, or give up, they discovered a third transformative option. They united under one guiding question: will it make the boat go faster? Every decision, every action was weighed against this mantra. If the answer was yes, they could or would have to do it.
If the answer was no, it was forbidden, non-negotiable. Prior to the competition, this team was doubted and ridiculed, but no one knew what they had been doing. And once they hit the water, they were nearly unrecognizable, achieved their pinnacle, and won the gold. So we ask you,
what is your goal? What are you willing to do to achieve it?
Will your story feel unrecognizable, even to you? Are you willing to light your beacon and stay focused, stay committed? Is your story non-negotiable, or are you waiting to find out how you ranked? Your financial future is not a game. You are only competing with yourself and those in the boat with you, your family and the many generations to come.
Will this make the boat go faster? A sounding alarm, a beacon of clarity amidst turbulent life decisions.
It's not just about speed, but direction, purpose, and an unwavering commitment. Every choice, every sacrifice aimed at the goal.
The first agreement this team made was to become fully self-directed, making their health their wealth, adopting a new perspective on their time and freedom, and the decisions they could fully control to reach their goal.
Will we make your boat go faster? That is our pledge to you. Our mission is to arm you with knowledge, strategies, and insights to ensure that not only you reach the goal, but you do so long before your race is over. All right, it's time. It's time to give away that boat. Let's do it. All right, Renee, I saw your question. We're gonna answer it right after we do the boat. So let's get started. We got 16 people in the chat. Let's see who's gonna win. Who is it? Jeremiah Harris. Jeremiah, if you are still with us, then you will know to go here and tell us where to send your boat. So text us your address and your name and your handles, because sometimes people's names are different, and tell us where to send your boat. Congratulations.
Absolutely. Congratulations, sir.
All right.
And I'd say one more, since it's a low number, because we're going to end up getting duplicates. So
yeah, okay. We will do that. Let's go. Who's getting a boat? Nathan Thomas, boat number 42. We'll spin again. All right. I wish I had the ability to take people off who haven't gotten a boat. No, it's 80 here to got a boat. Okay. Maybe we just spin the one time. Who knows? All right, we're gonna change to a different song. We spin one more time. April got one already.
Told you. It's the same group, so it's all good. And I think also, I think there are some days we can also just give out another boat.
Yeah, we could. Let's just one more time. Maybe if this
get lucky
new person. All right, Jeremiah. Winner chicken dinner. I think we also need to get a new spinner too. So that could be a thing.
And there should maybe there's also an opportunity for some different criteria to get on the wheel.
Ooh, yes, I like that too. Okay, Renee has a question.
Yep.
Let's get into her question. Hold on. Boop boop doo doo. Oh, Karen said she loves her boat. It's a great incentive. Yeah, it's a good visual reminder, right? Every time you see this little boat around, you're like, will it make the boat go faster? It's the quality of the questions we ask ourselves, right, guys? All right, what is the process for starting a self-directed 401k, Donnell?
It's pretty simple. I've got a small application that you would fill out to be able to do so. One thing I don't think I've ever brought up, what's the cost to get a self-directed retirement account? So let's start with a self-directed IRA. If you wanted a self-directed IRA, that cost is $1,250, $1,250. It's not all in. It's that allows us to be able to create the IRA, create the LLC that the IRA has to purchase, and the structure associated with. And for a 401k, it's $1,450. But and that $1,450 is an all-in cost. And the cost for a 401k is also a tax-deductible cost. And here's how most people do it. Don't tell anybody, but here's how most people do it. They pay for the cost of the 401k with a credit card, and then they take the tax deduction at the end of the year. And then in addition, because you're able to leverage against your 401k, they borrow the cost of the 401k from their retirement account. And in essence, it ends up being like a double dip. So please don't tell anyone. But the bottom line is that's kind of how it goes about it. Now, as far as creating a 401k, though, let's just peel back the layers a little bit. That application process, what's the point of it? Well, you have to apply for your SS4. It's an SS4 form that you have to fill out, very similar to creating an LLC as it relates to a 401k, so that it's the process of your 401k getting its own EIN number. So it's a very similar process. And once that process is done, we merge that 401k with a checking account with the custodians that we use we have some specific custodians that we use that are passive. We can actually work with any custodian, as I mentioned, but that doesn't mean that the fees would be eliminated. And so once I'm done, I have an empty checkbook control 401k that I have now merged with your I'll call it your business, your adopting employer, and then once all that's done, we pass it off back to you, and you have an empty checkbook controlled 401k. Now, the process of getting funds into that 401k is all on you. That process is a matter of you transferring funds from your previous employer's plan into your new employer's plan. Now, I can help you with how to go about it. That's a process that actually you would handle on your own to be able to accomplish. So again, fill out the form. I pay the fee to create the 401k. That process takes, for 401k, it's anywhere from, I'll call it 5 to 7 or 7 to 10 business days. For an IRA, that process can take a little bit longer, maybe 7 to 10 or 10 to 14 days, mainly because IRAs again lack structure. So a lot of times the custodians that we're working with, the time it takes is really wrapped up into that process. But in addition, with an IRA, we do have to purchase an LLC, so that process can take some time depending on the state that you're in. So that's it.
And the reason why we chose this topic for this stream today is because we're at the end of the year. And so if you're looking to structure yourself differently for your taxes, if you're looking for an opportunity to do something different, then the window is closing. And so this is just kind of like this is the last call.
Last call for 401ks.
Yeah, last call for 401k, last call for tax shelter, last call to reduce your taxable income, last call for many of the ideas of how you can leverage a self-directed account that we have gone over in this stream, and we hope that helped you. There's other things that you can do to improve your situation, and this isn't the only thing. We have, if you're here, you may already know that we talk about 5 different types of strategies to help you reduce debt and build wealth. But if you are new here, then you should subscribe, because we've just barely cracked open the can on a lot of these topics, and we're trying to be able to roll them out, but we're assessing whether start with the basic, the foundational topics and information, before we go and we deep dive. That way it's less of we're just throwing information out there, and more, we like to think of it more as building a community and bringing people with us, right? So that we can make sure that everybody is coming along and we're not losing people in the process. It's like roll call. Are you all here? Are we all still here? And if not, then where did we get distracted? Where did we go? And how do we get people to their goals? How do we help you and make sure that you understand that it matters to us that we are helping you? Main reason why is because, again, we had to have access to this information. Our whole profile would look completely different, right, Donnell, if we did not have access to this information, if somebody would not have shared these types of strategies with us. And it didn't come from one source. It wasn't one person who had all of this information. It was like a number of people who had little nuggets that you went and put it all together, and you found a way to connect it all together, which is a whole nother topic. But that's our goal, is to help you. It's each one teach one. Everything that we've learned, we will teach and help others.
Yeah, and
Or Donnell will teach, and I'll just do sound effects. Okay.
the thing is, I think the piece that got to me was I was irritated at the fact that this stuff is not hard, but the people that I was learning this stuff from made it seem as though it was. And as I started to learn and as I started to understand, people would ask me about it, and we kind of fell into this space of, because this stuff isn't difficult. The last thing I want to do is keep this information to myself, because I think the more people who know, the more people who understand, the more these things can change. Because a lot of this conditioning and these tools and these vehicles that we use are outdated. Uh, Traditional retirement accounts are outdated. So there's a better way. So if we can learn how to have more control over our traditional retirement accounts, to be able to beat the 4% rule, to be able to get them out of that investment equation and put them into that wealth generating equation, if we can do more of that, maybe some of this stuff might actually change. So from a purpose perspective, um, I, I wouldn't sleep well at night if we weren't sharing this information. And again, I thank God for you because as much as I thought I was spreading this information and sharing the knowledge that I have, I was just scratching the surface. And the only way we could really reach the people where they were was to be able to get on a vehicle like this. And that's all you.
I love that. Well, and I think I'm learning too. I'm learning a lot about this process. I'm learning how to meet people where they are. I'm learning more about how to help people. And that's where I get to do, as a professional rabbit hole hunter, I get to go down and learn more about the people that we're serving and the people that we want to serve and be able to help more people. That's, I think, the dopest part about us joining forces like this is that we are our own Justice League in that way. So we get to right the rights and help arm people with weapons essentially against their own against their future or their demise if they keep headed in this direction. And we get to arm them with tools that are powerful. So on that note, we have tools to share. And I hope that if you haven't gotten the free resources that we offer, that you'll take this time to do that. We have books. We have, Veronica says, I haven't talked about the meat and the Jell-O. Veronica, I have a whole stream coming up. We're going to talk about it because I'm very excited about it, actually. We have a lot of resources and we're building more. We don't want them to be boring, of course, but some of them we just, we can't help it. It's just information. So there's no other way.
Sexy out here.
Yeah, it's kind of a snooze fest, some of this stuff, but we try to make it fun and we try to at least be available Sundays and Wednesdays. So put that down on your calendar. 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time is when we start and we just go until we do. So we've been kind of testing the waters on times. If you've got feedback, let us know. If you're not a part of our Facebook group, jump in there and we're going to show you how to gain access to that now. But jump in there because we are going on a financial freedom tour this next year, and this is going to be such a game changer. And if we have the opportunity to create some sort of like meetups in some of these cities or spaces that we will be in, then that would be an amazing opportunity to, even if it's just to hold a networking event, right? Some sort of like a mixer where we can just like hang out and ask questions and maybe we have a topic. Maybe it's just a conversation or a discussion around strategy. Maybe that's what it could be, but it's just something that's very community driven. And we would love that while we're out and about. So we like to end with and remind everyone that if you didn't come from a wealthy family,
you can make sure a wealthy family comes from you.
So stay focused.
Stay protected.
Stay tuned.
Stay connected.
I'm Angelique.
And I'm Donnell.
And our goal is to help you
get self-directed.
And to do that, we have these free resources. So thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you Wednesday. Hey, before you go, we want to remind you that becoming fully self-directed means gaining complete control over your wealth, time, and freedom. It's not just an idea. It's a framework, a mindset, and the power to make informed decisions to secure your future. Being here means you're taking those steps, and we want to thank you for allowing us to guide you. We believe that we grow farther and faster when we grow together. So tune in next time and tell a friend to tell a friend. We've helped thousands of people just like you start their journey to financial freedom. And if they can do it, you can too. And if you're ready to learn more, we got you. Get a head start by grabbing these 2 free books. But how do they get them, Donnell?
Head over to my website where you'll have access to a few things. A ton of free resources, case studies, and over 100 5-star reviews from people just like you. And in 15 minutes, we can explore what's possible for you. So don't wait.
Invest in what you want, when you want.
But first, let us help you get self-directed.